Joining me now is Liberal Senator for Queensland, James McGrath. James, I would have thought during the height of a pandemic with lives at risk that these people could probably put on hold their beliefs, and obviously they have very strong beliefs, but to risk other people's lives by going ahead with these protests does seem a bit crazy.
These people are some of the most selfish people you could possibly ever come across. They really do have the moral rectitude of an empty wheelie bin. When you consider all of the freedoms that the rest of us have put on hold for the common good, when you think about all the businesses that are hurting, all the people are losing their jobs, but I know these people think they're better than the rest of us. They think that they've got some sort of moral comeuppance over us when in fact they don't. They are putting the health of Australia, both economically and from both a personal perspective, at risk because of their selfish behaviour. Just look at what's happened in Victoria. We do not want what's happened in Victoria to happen to the rest of Australia.
Senator, we've heard from Commissioner Mick Fuller in New South Wales, Police Commissioner, and he's warned that the BLM protesters should not go out and about next week. But I guess the big question here is, are we likely to see any fines? Are we likely to see people fined for breaching social distancing rules? When you consider, of course, we've had people fined in Victoria $1,600 for travelling 30 kilometres to get a butter chicken. We've had people fined for playing golf in Victoria. We've had people fined for playing soccer, and yet we have situations in this country where protesters do not get fined.
Here in Queensland, we've had pubs in Roma and Injune and Wallumbilla which have been fined by the state Labor government in an area where there is no coronavirus. So I'm hoping that the New South Wales Police throw the book at these protesters and then throw the fine book at them and fine all of them, because they've got to send a message to the protesters, because this is the problem. This is the issue that sends Middle Australia completely bonkers. It is the inconsistency of government when it comes to dealing with people and coronavirus. So people can get fined for going and getting a coronavirus, or a mum taking her daughter for a driving lesson, but 30,000 people can go and gather somewhere and not get fined, or 4,000 people are planned to go and have a protest in a few days' time. No, these people have been warned. If you turn up, you'll be fined. In fact, they should double the fine. They should triple the fine. Throw the fine book at these people. These people are thumbing the nose at the rest of us and are putting the recovery of Australia at risk.
Now, there's a bit of internal friction in the Labor Party. You've got people like Joel Fitzgibbon, Shane Newman, Anthony Chisholm saying, go ahead and approve Acland Stage 3 because there's jobs at stake, urging the Palaszczuk government to do that. But of course we know that the left faction of the Labor Party, which sort of run the Labor Party, they're saying, they're maintaining this anti-coal message. So who do you think will win that particular debate?
Here in Queensland, the left control the Labor Party. The only reason Palaszczuk is Premier is because she's, to quote that good old communist Lenin, she's a useful idiot for the left. She's the figurehead, because they know that Jackie Trad is disliked by the mob and is seen as a bit of a milk curdler because the mob don't like her in terms of her dodgy dealings. And Palaszczuk is the front woman. The socialist left control the Labor Party here in Queensland. There is no way under a Labor government that they will ever approve the New Hope mine at Acland. And I don't care that Chisholm and Newman and a few others have come out. I mean, these guys, if they really believed in jobs, and if they really believed in coal, and they really believed in the community on the Darling Downs, they would have done this before the last federal election, and they would have done this before the last state election. These guys, they're just talking. They've got to deliver. If they were serious about this, they would get Palaszczuk tomorrow to deliver on the next expansion. When I say the next expansion, this is an expansion that's been in the works for 13 years. Get her to deliver on it tomorrow, rather than her finding every excuse in the book not to deliver for jobs out in the Darling Downs.
Just very quickly, James, because we're running out of time, I see Jackie Trad, you mentioned her. She's been in the news a lot lately. She's obviously trying to reinvent herself.
Oh, look, Jackie is one of the most smartest, most intelligent people on the Labor side of politics. And that's not saying much, because it's like saying someone's the best looking cane toad in a cane paddock. But because these people do not understand economics. Jackie Trad is coming back. If Labor win the coming state election, she'll be Premier by Easter. So yes, she's trying to reinvent herself because she wants to become Premier, and she wants to make sure that she becomes a Premier who's loved by this state. And I say to Jackie, and I say to those other Labor people, nah, the person who's going to be Premier on the 1st of November is going to be Deb Frecklington.
Well, James McGrath, good to see you tonight. Really like that red tie.
Anytime.
It's sparkling.
Yeah.